Space Action Podcast with your hosts, Chris Carson and DC and Shama.
Welcome to Space Action Podcast, a division of Space Action Heroes, a webcomic you can find at spaceactionheroes.com. I'm Deniso and Shama.
I am Christopher Carson.
And it's been a while since we've been on in the same room.
Yeah, in the same room. Not for you guys. You guys are listening to our bullshit every week, but it's been a while since we've been in the same room together. And we teased what we're doing this week a little. So I guess we can just jump right into it. It is...
For anyone following along at home and would like to comment, this week on the docket we have recommended each other a film to watch.
One of our favorite films we recommended to the other person. The stipulation was the other person had never seen it. So it was a brand new experience for the other person. And my choice was Wonder Boys.
And my choice was Tombstone.
Tombstone.
Celebrating its 25th anniversary this Christmas Day.
Bum, bum, bum.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I guess in 1993. Yeah, a lot of stuff came out in 1993. We already did a Jurassic Park.
Fucking sweet year,
man.
We did,
yeah.
You.
It was a good year in the 90s. So, why don't we start with Tombstone?
Let's do it up.
Hollywood Pictures presents.
The only real law around here is the Cowboys.
The story of Wyatt Earp.
The first time in our lives we got a chance to stop wandering and finally be a family. Now this is trouble we don't need.
If we're gonna have a future in this town, it's gotta have some law and order. What do you want, Ringo?
I want your blood. I want your soul. I want them both right now.
And I right off the bat, I need to confess, I apologize that I didn't really like this film. I do apologize.
George P. Cosmatos, director, written by Kevin Jari, starring Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, Michael Biehn, Powers Booth, who else? Sam Elliott, Bill Paxton, Michael Rooker, Billy Zane, Charlton Heston. Fuck you.
Everyone's in there. Billy Zane? Oh yeah, he's the kind of...
He's the actor at the beginning.
The effeminate actor.
The one that the guy with the glasses is totally in love with.
Yeah.
Crush on him.
Well, just to set up, first of all, I'm not a fan of Westerns. There's a handful of Westerns that I really love. Obviously, the Sergio Leone Westerns. Unforgiven is okay.
Yeah, it's alright.
And this movie was clearly made. This, and then within 6 months, another... Wild Bill. No, what was his name?
Wyatt Earp.
Wyatt Earp movie was made called Wyatt Earp with Kevin Costner, from the director of Irvin Kershner, Irvin Kershner is...
Irvin Kershner. You hear him talk?
Yeah.
He totally sounds like a Muppet.
Empire.
It's adorable.
Yeah. So this was clearly that Unforgiven made a ton of money a year before, and so every studio went, what's a cowboy property we can get on? And it's great, because I didn't realize there was a Armageddon, Deep Impact... Volcano, Dante's Peak year for cowboy movies, both about Wyatt Earp.
It's like they really limited their outlook.
Yeah,
you know, it's like
this is Wyatt Earp.
What about Calamity Jane? It's not. We're not there yet. No, we're not there yet.
We're not there. This is the second wave of feminism.
Totally.
This is the 90s.
She can be like the sassy chick who shoots a guy in the third act, maybe.
And Scully.
And Dana Scully.
But yeah, this really felt to me a lot more like the John Wayne Westerns and a lot less like the Sergio Leone Westerns. It was very much like rum-tummy music, very heroic deeds by the main characters. They all represented sort of aspects of the old West life. It felt a lot more like a spaghetti Western with John Wayne than it did a Sergio Leone Western with Clint Eastwood.
Sure.
To me.
There is a certain... a very strong, like the way Scorsese has a style, Tarantino has a style. Fucking Sergio Leone's style in those movies he holds your head and walks you through that film.
Oh, for
this
sure.
movie doesn't have any of that. It does feel a lot more like The Searchers in terms of like it's got a montage and shit like that. You know?
And like my brain is so fucked from years of movies and going to school to learn about movies that I can't watch a movie anymore. So I'm just watching it and picturing the studio conversations of like, well, Unforgiven was a gritty real world look at Westerns. So let's go back to the John Wayne days. Let's make it a little... And then I also had Wikipedia open to the actual story of Wyatt Earp.
Yeah.
And this movie does not follow it at all.
Takes a little bit of liberty, I'm guessing.
A little bit? It takes a lot of liberties.
Wyatt Earp was black, first of all.
Well, I actually have him in my list of stuff.
Let's hear it. I don't know any of this, because I just like the film. Like, I know Wyatt Earp as his name, like, you know, Wild Bill Hickok. I don't know shit about him.
And I want to also, like,
other than he got shot in Deadwood.
Yeah, he did. I want to preface this by saying, obviously, these things are subjective, and I don't want to, like, shit on anyone, but...
It's okay, I'm just gonna bottle you if I fucking hear something I don't like in the spirit of the movie.
At one point, we need to go silent, I'll add in, like, the smash effect of getting brain.
I'm just gonna start slapping you, like, whenever Kurt Russell starts hitting fucking fat Billy Bob Thornton. He's like, you gonna pull that heater, boy, or are you just gonna stand there and bleed?
That was fat Billy Bob Thornton, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
So the actual story of Wyatt Earp is that he owned a bunch of brothels, and he was a sheriff for a little while, but then he bought into casinos and brothels in his older years. He did kill some guys who came to fuck with him, but I don't believe the Cowboys were an
I doubt it.
actual group of thugs. And then at the end, it's like the whole happy ending at the end. We'll get to the whole ending. But the happy ending of him, like, my family has money. First of all, they had to make his wife unsympathetic because he was cheating on her.
Right.
So they made her like this drug-addled whore.
She was kind of an asshole for no reason.
For no reason at all.
Excellent
and then
point.
in reality, she dies.
Excellent point.
Yeah, and then the girl that he ends up with never existed.
The actress.
Or the character. She never existed.
Oh, no, I mean, like, I think in the movie, her character is she's an actress with Billy Zane, right?
I got a little Inception. Like, wow. But yeah, the actress, she never existed, and the whole ending of Wyatt Earp being like, it's all done, I killed them all, and she's like, my family's rich, let's move to California. None of that ever happened. He moved to California with his drug-addled wife, if I recall correctly, and then she died on the journey or when he first got there. And then
tragic as fuck. It's probably like he loved her to the bitter end and shit like that.
But then on top of that, now historians are saying that all the accounts were for penny arcade novels. None of this ever even actually happened. He was just a self-aggrandizing cowboy at the turn of the century who said, oh, look at all these amazing things I did. But now they're going, none of this happened. Wyatt Earp was just a dude who owned some brothels and was sheriff for a while.
So for all intents and purposes, we can take this as accurately as Shanghai Nights portrayed London. Like, it's just taking liberties with the character. He might as well be called like Bounty Hunter Bill, for fuck's sake.
Right, which begs the question, why make it about Wyatt Earp if that's not even in the title? Because the name sounds
cool. Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday. It just sounds cool. Listen, Hitler didn't actually get blown apart by Eli Roth, but it was fucking awesome.
Doc Holliday was a lot more of an accurate interpretation of what Doc Holliday was actually going through.
His performance, come on.
Val Kilmer's,
you gotta give it to him. He's like Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Every scene he's in, he steals it.
Because I don't like generally Val Kilmer, but he seemed like his career was still early, so he was actually trying.
Unless he's playing a homosexual with a gun, I can't really watch him. But when he does that character, fuck, he's amazing.
Yeah, he was really great in something else too. And
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Batman Forever.
I was trying to think. Not The Doors. What else was his like standout? Standout early career performance.
Wasn't there one where he played a Native American who had to fight white people?
Wasn't that Johnny Depp? Was that the Lone Ranger?
No, Val Kilmer was in one of those flicks, like not Last of the Mohicans.
No, that was Daniel Day-Lewis in Kentucky.
Let's see.
Val got so bloated when he got older.
I think he had some sort of like dietary thing, or not like not a bypass.
Has someone made one of those like take a photo of myself every day for a year videos of Val Kilmer aging in 30 seconds?
No, because it's monstrous.
It would just be horrifying.
MacGruber.
He was in The Love Guru.
Probably. Does that shock you?
Jesus. Bad Lieutenant, Port Call of New Orleans. That's an amazing film and an awesome sequel to Bad Lieutenant. I highly recommend that one. Wyatt Earp's Revenge?
Right? That's what I just saw. That's fucking
direct to video.
Interesting.
He was like, I could have played Wyatt Earp better.
No. Kurt Russell's like, I can't hear you on top of this pile of money.
On top of Goldie Hawn.
I can't hear you, dude. Muskoka's sweet. By the way, you look like shit.
But hold on, let me get to my points here. So my first point for Tombstone was, why is everyone mad at Kurt Russell when shit goes to shit when he's the one who tried to stop it all? His brothers keep initiating shit, then blaming him for the repercussions.
Listen, if you're going to question Sam Elliott's badassness, we're on the wrong page here. That man, his mustache is uncontrollable, so is his will.
So uncontrollable. But it really made me laugh because he kept writing and being like, we're building a new life for ourselves here. We're not doing this shit. do not become a sheriff, do not engage. And then they do it behind his back. Shit goes wrong, and they're like, well, Wyatt, you happy? You happy now?
I know. I love the number of scenes where he's just trying to chill with his wife, and they're like, Wyatt, we have a jerp. He's like, dude,
I don't care.
I don't want your jerp. Like, fuck off. Like,
you don't know this, but I own several whorehouses. I don't need this
why does no one in this movie know how many whorehouses I own?
I do. I want to briefly mention, too, because I want someone, if anyone listens and can correct me on this. A few podcasts ago, I ended up editing it out because I claimed that there's a scene in Sam Raimi's Western movie whose name has now escaped me, but...
what was it?
What was the scene?
Not Dead Before Dawn.
It was... Dead Face or something stupid. It was all so stupid. But there was a scene where Sharon Stone and a bunch of prostitutes dropped their trousers and said, "Smell us, boys," and walked towards the camera. It turned out not to be from that movie. So I cut it out of the podcast. The Quick and the Dead. But I think it's from the Irvin Kershner directed Wyatt Earp film that came out like 6 months after Tombstone. I think it's from that one, and I want someone to actually sit down and watch that 3-hour movie to find out if it's from that, because it all lines up. It has Gene Hackman in it. It has whorehouses in it because he owns whorehouses.
And you know how much Irvin Kershner makes a good smelling pussy joke.
Yeah, I mean, remember that in Empire?
Yeah. First of all, I think in the Minox squishing its face against the glass.
Oh, yeah.
Like...
Well, Leia single-handedly melted those tunnels in Hoth. My second point was character motivation for Wyatt Earp is all over the map, because he was like, does he want to retire? Does he want to bang some new broad? Does he want to save his wife? Does he want to fix his marriage?
He's looking for pomade.
That's
his whole thing.
I'm a dapper Dan man myself, but what else we got? This is gonna be a list of me shitting on it, and then we'll go to Wonder Boys.
Oh, it's fine, man. Go for it. It's good.
Oh, yeah. But I just put made because of Unforgiven. The Kevin Costner version came out later. It was the Armageddon Deep Impact scenario. And then I wrote, did Yondu just show up?
Fucking ain't right, Yondu shows up. Yondu's hanging out with fucking, what's-his-face, Ego the Living Planet, and they're friends now.
Yeah, they're just hanging out. Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Also, R.I.P. fucking both Paxton and Powers Booth in that flick, playing both really good characters. Like you gotta admit, the characters, like in terms of just like
for the actor to play that would be so much fun. Yeah.
Yes, that and like I just enjoy, like I love what's his face, Michael Biehn in that movie, just like completely the opposite of Hicks. Yeah, like just a wide-eyed psychopath. Just insane, yeah. He's so fun in that flick.
Yeah, that's an interesting clash though, because it's like you have these fleshed out characters who are fleshed out in no way what they were in reality. So you've just arbitrarily decided to flesh them out to however it fits your script. So that kind of bugged me. Again, I have a real asshole brain. But, my other point was, no! Kurt Russell in the rain and in the river. Just when he's freaking, no! God damn it, no! And he's just shooting everyone in the river.
He's completely in the open, too. It's like, there's 7 dudes shooting at him, including Powers Booth, who's presumably this badass gang leader.
Right?
He's in the middle of a lake, so he's going 0 miles per hour.
No! And it
makes it. He's like deflecting the bullets with the no. It just then is curve around him at that point.
Never happened in real life. I made sure to extra look up that because I was like, wait, is this one of those grand tales? And even though
not a bullet landed on his soul,
never happened. Even in his self-aggrandizing tales that they're now realizing were mostly false, never happened. But it made me just all I could think of was the day of production of Kurt Russell in the river. No! And then being like all intense between scenes, like, don't talk to me, I gotta maintain this intensity.
Oh, I love the idea that it isn't like they were like, how do we fucking find a way around this one? Wyatt fucking yells no a couple times, and for some reason he doesn't get hit. Action, but with action.
Oh, one thing that bugged me is they kept saying lunger instead of lunger.
Lunger?
Because Doc Holliday was dying from consumption or tuberculosis, and they kept calling him lunger instead of lunger. They kept going, hey, lunger, and it kept bugging me after a while. I was like, why is it's not just one character? It's everyone saying lunger.
And a shitty paramedic. What do you want?
This again, my list has nothing to do with the actual structure of the film. It was just these little moments.
Like these little floating points.
Yeah. The slow-mo horse handshake. This movie oozes melodrama. There's I don't even remember that. I watched this like 4
It's
days
drifted
ago.
off.
Did I dream that?
That was Red Dead Redemption 2, sorry.
No, I think it was at the very end that they were doing like a big like you did it, Wyatt, like handshake and shit. I just watched this and I wrote it down,
Right.
but it made me laugh. In real life, his wife died of a disease. She wasn't an opium addict, so they had to make her that to make Kurt Russell hate her, to go after actress Poon. That was one of my points. And then again, this feels like a response to the real grittiness of Unforgiven with a return to the cheesy days of the Duke.
It definitely had the beat of like, it's a man. I remember I even said it earlier on that one retro podcast, where it's all about a man who can kill everybody, but he really doesn't want to. And then eventually you push him and he fucking snaps. So like that.
But that was so unclear.
But to me, it's implicated like every time they ask him. Like, I will agree, like the love triangle thing with him and his wife, I think is just put in there because it's the 90s and they're like, we need to put a love interest in there because people have certain expectations for this bullshit.
And he constantly was telling everyone, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And then I think he decided, okay, I'm going to fucking do it before his brother even died. So I'm like, so that didn't even drive him into a sense of revenge. He just decided.
I thought the thing was that they killed his brother, and then Sam Elliott and his family are leaving town, the train, and that's when he finally he cuts the fucker's face with the spur and shit.
But he deputizes a sheriff before that scene. That's what got his brother killed. So I'm like, wait, if you're so against this, then why did you get deputized as a sheriff to fight these guys in town at the OK Corral shootout, the famous OK Corral shootout? Why were you even there? If you were so adamantly against this lifestyle for the entire preceding parts of the film. So it was making me chuckle.
I like the operaticness of it. I think the cast is no, like for real, I enjoy. It's not a full hook, line, snare. I think it's the difference between if I have to compare, I feel like it was to compare another movie to this one. It's like Goodfellas and The Godfather. In that, like, The Godfather is for a few dollars more. This is Goodfellas, where it's like, to me, it's about the set pieces and the little moments. The story, when you put it that way, is kind of all over the map. The thing that always bugged the shit out of me was the inclusion of that other woman, and now knowing that she's completely made up is ridiculous. I'm like, what? That story arc is...
Well, it's the 90s. Think of yourself as an executive in the 90s. Like, well, we need a love story.
Now
we need a happy ending.
It reeks of that.
Yeah.
But I just love the montage.
We're gonna need a montage.
I love the montage. The part where he flips up underneath the horse. Like, it's just a beat. It's a visually cool beat that I enjoy.
He's chasing them all down.
But it is really expository. And they kill Michael Rooker off screen, which always pissed me off. I'm like, how dare you?
Well, he did, didn't he?
Yeah, they see his horse or they ride his headless corpse back or something.
That was back when no one even knew who he was, though, wasn't it? Did he do anything of note before 1993?
No, Mallrats was after that. That's the only thing.
Oh yeah, he was. LaFleur or whatever. LaFleur?
No, LaFleur's is the... I just watch it because it's Stan. LaFleur's is the security guard. He's Mr. Svenning.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't seen Mallrats in probably 20 years.
Oh, god damn, it still holds up. It's still... If it came out now, it would have made so much money. It's so... Like, because, again, it had like...
That's what he thought about Zack and Mira Makes a Porno.
But the funny thing is, dude, like, to take a tangent from Tombstone to Kevin Smith, man, like, I rewatched it, I'm like, what the world he was imagining is the world we live in now. Back in 1995. And I'm like, it's kind of... I feel bad because it just... it became a Kevin Smith world, and he got no credit for it.
He didn't get to do it, or be a part of it.
He has to kind of live off like the world he created in a weird way. Where like
that's kind of true.
He put Stan Lee in a fucking movie in '95, and no one gave a fuck. And when he died, he was like, "Oh dear God, Stan Lee." He was like, "I was saying this fucking 20 years ago." Yeah,
it's so true. I think that's more common than probably most people do realize that the person who creates a trend never succeeds from it.
No,
it's always the people copying the person that created the trend.
Yeah, like you said,
like all those space action hero type animated series on Netflix now.
You create the boom, but you don't ride the wave. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly. I guess you can't physically ride the wave if you create the boom.
Unless you're like Bruce Campbell.
It's all about acting, baby. You don't get behind the camera. No one blames you for anything. But overall, again, I don't want to shit too hard on Tombstone. It just wasn't my cup of tea. If I was like a huge Western guy, I could see myself loving it. But I'm not. I've never, like... Even as a kid, my father loved Westerns. I was like, I don't get this. And then in college is when I saw the Sergio Leone quadrilogy, basically. The Dollars trilogy, and then Once Upon a Time in the West.
I'm not as big for the soundtrack for that one.
It's amazing.
Unparalleled.
It's like a 15-minute opening of them just sitting around a train station. Yeah.
So good.
So good.
Bronson in that. Like I that was one of the first movies where I was like, who is Charles Bronson?
Yeah,
I have to look into this more. My only problem with that one is what's his face, the fucking main villain. It just gets weird towards the end. Mm-hmm. The rape scene is just so strange. I'm like, I don't understand why this is in the film anymore.
It was just a little weird.
Like, he's a bad guy.
Yeah,
I got
really
it.
He's a bad guy.
Like, it's
a fetish, a little fetish of insinuation.
It goes on for really long. I don't know. Like, it's. I mean, fucking. Now that I think about it, for a few dollars more, it has a rape scene in it. So
a lot of westerns have a rape scene. There was a Clint Eastwood movie where a town tries to kill him and he comes back and the girl won't stop sass talking him, so he teaches her a lesson by taking her to a barn and raping her.
Jesus Christ.
And then she kind of like loves him afterwards.
Of course.
Eastwood directed that one, I believe. And
did he write it too?
Maybe. And I think like it's so funny because every once in a while you can see. We were talking earlier about how we're now at the age that we can see people who are like 20 to 25 making assertions about the world that they think is brand new, and we're going, dude, we had these same assertions when we were a kid, and we thought they were brand new.
Right.
And it makes you think about people older than us going, yeah, moron, we had the same thing. So every once in a while you see a movie from like the 60s and 70s where a girl gets raped and she loves it in the end, and you go, oh, so that's why a whole generation of guys thought you just had to push yourself into someone and they would love you.
Yeah, you could, exactly. No, it's fucking ridiculous.
But overall, I mean, objectively as a movie, it was fun. It was very much a 90s film.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Very much a 90s film.
It's great because it's a 90s film wearing a cowboy skin.
Yeah.
It was just kind of... I think that's why I like it so much, is the nostalgia of it. I'm like, oh, it's so cute.
It did feel like Tommy Lee Jones in Volcano in the Old West. But it felt like Robin Hood, but in the Old West. Like that's
yes! Perfect example. Yes, totally.
But again, I'm gonna give it 1/2 cup of coffee out of a pot. I don't know. I'm just looking at the things I'm holding right now.
I'm looking at things in my immediate environment. So, I watched a film.
Yeah, enough about not Deadwood. Enough about Tombstone.
Deadwood.
Enough about Tombstone.
Essentially.
The other half of this Versus episode is...
Wonder Boy's there.
Come on, Teach. I want you to dance with me.
Oh, Hannah, I'm really flattered, honey, but this just isn't the right time.
Hey, I'm sorry. Interrupting a teacher-student conference?
I wonder if this is what the university has in mind when it promises a liberal education.
You're not like my other teachers, Professor Tripp.
You're not like my other students, James.
I love you, Grady.
That is a big trunk. It holds a tuba, suitcase, a dead dog, and a garment bag almost perfectly.
Yeah, that's just what they used to say in the ads.
Wonder Boy.
Starring...
What is the secret of your power?
Directed... I had cats all over me right now.
Curtis Hanson directed it.
And you like the author who wrote the original book.
Oh, yeah. I he's my favorite. Him and Jonathan Franzen are just fucking brilliant in my mind. I would like... Again, I think people with favorite things need to broaden their horizon, but my favorite book is... Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay, which is Michael Chabon, or Chabon, however you choose to pronounce it. It's all about the birth of the comics industry in the 1920s and 30s, escaping the fascism of Europe. And these two immigrants create The Escapist, and it's just their story. It's just the story of like 20 years of their lives, and it's fucking awesome. And his first book, I believe it was his first or second book, was Wonder Boys. And yeah, it's one of my favorite. I saw it in theaters living in California. So that was a whole level to it. I watch Wonder Boys at least once a year.
It's such a you movie. It's all about writers and their struggles. I'm like, within 10 minutes, I'm like, there's no wonder he fucking recommended this one.
Yeah, I watch it at least once a year. I love it.
So who were you in that narrative? Do you see yourself as Michael Douglas?
Now that I'm getting older, I do.
Yeah.
When I was younger, there was no real direct correlation. When I was because it came out in
2000.
February 2000. So I was
18 years ago.
I just turned 18. I was living in California. And I remember going to like a late night screening of it in the theater that it premiered in the night before. So I was like, ooh, I wonder if I'm in Michael Douglas's seat. And I didn't connect with any character in that regard. I wasn't like, ooh, that's me. I just loved the idea of it.
Are you fucking kidding me? At 18, everyone else in that movie's fucking older than you. Who you were identifying
right.
with?
I mean, I guess Tobey Maguire's character, but I wasn't like an emo punk, right? So
even him, it's an Ivy League school, so he's got to be at least in college.
Right. So now that I'm getting older, I'm identifying more and more with Grady Tripp. The older and older I get.
Right?
Definitely. But what do you think of it? I want to talk about the ending more than anything, but what
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what you meant by like there was a certain point where you should just turn it off. But I kept thinking in my head, it's the Big Lebowski for Ivy League students, which I thought was fucking hilarious. Like, just the idea of, like, what happens to a dude when he hits a midlife crisis and his fucking boat just starts spinning and
spinning out of control. He can't stop writing.
Yeah. I love the idea of just, like, that one moment where Katie Holmes is just like, I think it would because you smoke too much pot, that you overanalyze. You have an entire chapter where you just talk about dental work for dogs or some shit like that.
It's like it gets a little too on the nose, where it's like he doesn't know. He's not making any choices. You're not making any choices, Grady. You're not making any decisions. And I think it's the best acting Katie Holmes has ever done, because you can really see that moment of, I no longer like you.
Yes.
It just drains from her face, and he becomes this
both of them. And like the second like she starts questioning him, he's like, he doesn't like, he's not attracted to her either. And it's like this awkward scene of like, oh, you're both just so awful right now.
Sorry.
I was just gonna say, the idea of like most of like, you know, his personality coming through his relationship with Tobey Maguire. So for people who haven't seen it, Tobey Maguire is like kind of this off-putting weird emo kid who mumbles a lot. Surprise.
And who's brilliant. He's a brilliant writer.
An amazing writer. Meanwhile, Michael Douglas is under pressure to be writing this book that he wrote. One amazing book 7 years ago, and he's kind of gotten writer's block on the second one.
Well, no, not right. He doesn't believe in writer's block.
Not writer's block, but like he's essentially spinning his wheels.
He's not making any choices. He's just on the page 3,000.
He can't lock down that perfect ending.
Yeah.
So it's literally a 2,000-page book at this point. Robert Downey Jr. plays his fucking agent, and he shows up being like...
With a transsexual.
But what I love is that like he doesn't know that like this is it.
Yeah,
I think it's the transsexual telling him he's just like
he's like, a bit of a joke back in New York.
Exactly, and like he's relying on your fucking book.
Yeah. Did it rip your guts out when the book went blowing out of the car?
Are you shitting me? Of course it did. I was like, I just remember I had my hands in my head like I was watching Game of fucking Thrones. Like, you're kidding me? That just fucking happened.
Because we're from the generation where you would type stuff up, you'd have only one copy.
Yeah.
So like,
it hit home so hard, and just I also because it's Robert Downey Jr. and that man's just a credit to acting. The way he's leaping, catching pages. Like, what's difference is it going to make if you catch 2 or 3?
Yeah.
Like, what difference?
What's the line? I take it back. Shoot him.
Oh, that black dude. And that's what another thing I loved about that movie was like the almost Wes Anderson non sequitur storylines of like, my car I borrowed is in fact stolen, so this black guy's gonna fucking kidnap us for a little. Yeah, Vernon. But you know what? Turns out he's not a bad guy.
Yeah. Even though I love the subtle moment where he raises his voice and his wife kind of shivers into the corner. You're like, oh, he beats the shit out of her. Just that subtle moment where she goes like this.
And when they drive off, she's all love you shit, but he's gonna beat her afterwards.
Yeah, well, because he goes, "What are you telling me?" And he says something to them in the backyard, and she just goes like this, and she covers her ear and like cringes in the corner. And you're like, oh, okay. And that's why it's so beautiful when they're like, you keep the coat, Marilyn Monroe's coat. And you're like, oh my god, my heart's falling out.
Yeah, that was good.
It was so good.
But I love the moments like that, or like, you know, killing the dog, or Frances McDormand is pregnant. You're like, this is going to be a huge consequence now. Like, it's almost immediately forgotten about, and the movie just goes on. I'm like, oh. Like, once I got used to that pace of, like, there's not going to be payoff to these big moments.
But then it does, because, I mean, James Lear does get arrested for the death of the dog. They leave it in his bed.
Oh, that's right.
Remember?
Right. And shit like that. Like, why would that be the rational choice to make? Because fuck you. Yeah. The movie doesn't give a fuck. Yeah. Like, I kind of like the not give a fuckitude of it all.
Oh, yeah. What year did Big Lebowski come out?
Good question. 97, I want to say. Because it's very similar tonally.
Because the book was written in, like, the early 90s. So this story does predate Lebowski, but I imagine visually the movie very much was homaging Lebowski.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was so funny. Like, one of my favorite things was just watching how these stories around Michael Douglas, they just kind of orbit around him, and they don't really affect his main narrative because he doesn't really have one other than
because he makes no choices.
Yeah, he just has to self-actualize that, like, you know what, fuck it, like I needed to settle down with this chick and stop being aimless and shit. What I loved about that was the fact that, like, all the people around just kind of acted like planets around his fucking son and informing his decisions, but not really ultimately causing any effect. Like, Spider-Man fucked Iron Man, which I thought was hilarious.
That was pretty great.
That killed me.
Night, bro. Click.
Yeah. All I kept thinking, I think I even put it on Instagram, was like, all right, kid, you're an adventurer. But
Everyone, I love that everyone was orbiting him, wanting his sunshine, but he wasn't making any choices of where to give his sunshine.
Exactly.
So they were all just waiting for him to be a part of their life, but he didn't want to be.
And
a
then
part
ultimately,
of anyone's life.
just all of them kind of just decide like, okay, well then we don't really need
This
you
guy's
then.
not needed.
Yeah, he's kind of dead weight, which I thought was kind of cool. I loved how aimless it was. It never got bored. Like, the pacing was pretty good.
That's the thing. I throw it on again, like I said, once a year, and it's just it's over.
It's so the thing is, like, every 2 minutes it just seemed like the fuck.
Yeah.
Like it keeps you going. Like whenever Tobey Maguire's parents showed up and they were like these fucking
those aren't my parents.
Oh, I was like, that's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
You're shitting me.
I love that it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
It's just all bullshit.
And they're like, I don't know who you are. Is there anything that you've said in the past like 2 hours that wasn't complete bullshit?
I'm a teacher, James. I'm not a Holiday Inn.
Oh, so good.
The line that I say at least once a month is, although Poe and I weren't exactly simpatico, it didn't mean he deserved 2 shots to the chest. He just shoots because the blind dog, because he's cheating. The wife of the owner of the blind dog is fucking Grady, so the dog hates him, but the husband is completely oblivious to the affair, but the dog knows. He gets shot.
The one review I read that I kind of agree with, just because Michael Douglas is Michael Douglas, like, you could tell that role was begging for, like, not Mickey Rourke, what the fuck? Maybe, like, because of the Lebowski, I want to say Jeff Bridges, but, like, I just find Michael Douglas really hard to believe of, like, a G shucks, I'm down on my luck kind of guy.
I love him in that movie.
I'm like, he's awesome. Like, I love, like, fucking Wall Street, him in that. But, like, in this movie, I'm just kind of like, you're not that guy.
I think the difference is that I didn't know who the fuck Michael Douglas was before this movie.
Really? This was your intro to Michael Douglas?
I never saw Wall Street. I never saw...
Falling Down was what I saw
Falling
him in
Down.
when I was a kid.
Falling Down when I was older. I never saw the Romancing the Stone and all those movies. The Game. I never saw these. These are all. I was introduced to Michael Douglas's career after Wonder Boys. So
that's hilarious.
In my brain, Michael Douglas will always be an old frumpy writer smoking pot in the pink bathrobe. That's Michael Douglas.
Fucking pink bathrobe.
Yeah, but can we jump to the end? Can we talk about?
Yeah,
the end?
what was it? You haven't said till now. Carson keeps saying there's something you didn't like in the last couple.
Well, because remember the scene where he's like, "Hey man, you smoke weed," and he throws Wash from Firefly, the bag of weed, and he's kind of tilting over, and then it suddenly fades to black, and it's like, "But I didn't fall," and then it's a voiceover of him like all cleaned up in a turtleneck, writing on a computer and getting save with the kid coming in. It
feels like that, like, really bad tacked on ending to Blade Runner.
Yeah, because in the book he does that. It's word for word the book almost. And even there's a scene where they go to the party, and it's like, I thought it was more of a literal adaptation. And you hear that in the background, you're like, oh, I see what you did there.
Okay.
Scott Pilgrim's going to rip you off in a decade.
Right.
But in the book, he's hanging over the stairwell, asking if he wants to weed. He has another one of his spells, one of his episodes. And he wakes up in the hospital. And then the doctor's, and he's had a little stroke, and his eye's all fucked up. And the doctor, and he's like, "Is it the weed? Is it the drugs?" And he's like, "No, man, no. You've stressed yourself out to the point that you've raised your blood pressure, and you've given yourself a stroke. It's all internal. You're doing this to yourself. It's no external force. It's all internal. All your problems stem from your own decisions, your own actions." And so he does decide to move out of town with let's say Frances McDormand, and have the kid. But it's a lot more melancholy, where he's back at a local pub, telling stories, eyeing up the younger girls. Like, he's just started the cycle all over again.
Gotcha.
And it's a little more depressing, a little more fucked up. And so the movie, clearly, they just wanted, like, a happy ending where everything's 100%. Okay. And it's Michael Douglas in a turtleneck.
In the suburbs. Doesn't she pull up in an SUV and everything? Like, you're like, oh, Jesus.
And then he hits save on the computer.
Yeah, because it can't blow out the window no more.
I hate it. It's, like, literally 60 seconds. And I always, as soon as he's, like, dangling over the railing, I always am like,
it really felt like that's where it was going. I was like, oh, this is closure. That makes perfect sense.
So, and it's so that tagged on ending, it drops, like, the movie's a perfect 10, and then that fucking ending, literally 60 seconds. I'm like, fuck you drop it to like a -5.
It's like the opposite of Clockwork Orange, where it's like, no, that last chapter of the book is so crucial. Why the fuck did you cut that out?
It's the opposite. Or you even have gone straight adaptation from the book and have him be like an old half-blind Cyclops now, just in a pub, not learning from his mistakes.
Right.
And you're like, that's great, because as an audience, the main character doesn't need to learn a lesson. We can learn a lesson from seeing the main character fuck up.
Right.
And I don't like that they took the approach of, well, the main character needs to learn his lesson.
And also, like, the idea of, like, does the dude who ends up murking a dog and kind of being a bit of an asshole who's a little self-absorbed get a happy ending? Right. Why should he? Shouldn't he end up like a fucking stroke-eyed fucking dude eyeing chicks at a bar at the end?
Yeah, I mean, probably will be in 40 more years. Even though I do love there's two scenes that every time I have to pause because I'm just like loving it so much and like giggling like a little schoolgirl, is when Q comes in, Rip Torn. He's like, I am a writer, and then Michael Douglas just does that look, and that makes me laugh every time. And then just the end when he's like, "Take a bow, James." I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Such a great little moment. He gets his book picked up.
But yeah.
Did we peter out on Wonder Boys? I ripped the shit out of Tombstone. Do you have any horrible things to say about Wonder Boys?
Any scathing things to say? No, not really, dude. To be honest with you, like, I just kept laughing at how many fucking people were in Marvel movies. I spent most of my time just being like, oh my god, this is getting ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what Wonder Boys means.
For real. I did like the idea of like what happens, because I compared it to music, whenever what happens after the first album. You spend your whole life writing the first album, all of a sudden you get a big publishing deal and they're like, write us another one. Another life story, and you're like, oh, okay. I only had the one. I only have the one life story. What the fuck are you talking about? And the idea of like crossing it over with a midlife crisis of like just like what happens to whenever like this indelible fucking force of nature realizes it's fallible and he can't fucking figure his shit out. Yeah, like I thought
he's just stuck.
He's just stuck, man. Like, and he's got like a Tolkien huge novel that he can't fucking resolve,
which apparently is just atrocious. I always assumed, and there's nothing to back this up, but I always assumed that was a bit of a dig on Stephen King. Because
I could see that.
Like his books are like 2,000 pages. They go into the lineages of horses and shit, and you're like, you need to make some decisions. It is a great example of that.
Right.
I was always wondering if Michael Chabon was going like, "Fuck you, Stephen King." If Stephen King was his cue. I am a writer.
I can see that.
So I don't know.
Because don't they make implications that Q shit's been picked up by different studios and stuff?
And they say, like, that's Q. He writes a new book every 6 months.
Right.
Yeah. I love Q. I love that he's just like, Grady, watch out! And he's
they
like
cast
in the car
him
with him.
Perfectly.
Yeah. It's good. It makes me, in the summertime, it makes me yearn for winter. And in the winter, it makes me a little more okay with the weather.
Oh, that's funny.
That movie is just, I throw it on and there's like sleeting rain through the whole movie because it takes place over one weekend.
Right.
And you're just like, I'm so love this movie that I kind of wish I was in that scenario right now. Oh, look outside, I am. Okay, I'm a little more
everything's okay.
Yeah. A little more okay with the winter right now.
Where can I get one of those tiny fucking pellet guns?
Yeah. A little one at a penny arcade in Cincinnati. But, I love... No one gets this at all, but I love the line, because I think it sums up the whole damn movie of when Tobey Maguire gets high, and he's he's hungover, and he's drinking the orange juice, and he's just like, you ought to ease up on that stuff, James. It's pretty acidic.
Yeah.
And I even put that on my Facebook, a picture of like Tobey Maguire drinking the juice. And I think that just encapsulates the whole movie. You gotta ease up. It's too much of something. It's gonna be acidic. You need to make choices.
Sure.
You need to make decisions. You need to decide when to drink, when not to. And I love that little moment from the movie. But yeah, would you recommend Wonder Boys? Wonder Boys.
Not if you don't have the patience. Because like again, it's one of those movies where it's like nothing's gonna happen. Like a lot's gonna happen, but nothing's gonna happen.
There's lots gonna happen in terms of the character's
development. But like if you're waiting for payoffs, like that again. Like whenever I love the non-payoff of just like, oh my god, they shot that fucking dog. I can't wait to see what happens. And like
stuffed in James's bed.
Yeah, and like the third act and like the most fuck you audience, we don't give a shit in terms of like subverting expectations.
Well, I guess though I'd have to argue though. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'd have to argue that the killing of the dog that was in Grady's trunk and then put in James's bed is what got him arrested and expelled, so they had to get him out of trouble by publishing the Dean's book, which made him okay with the divorce, and also publishing James's book.
Dean's book.
I mean, remember the way they got James Lear off of the hook for killing the dog was that Robert Downey Jr. agreed to publish the Dean's book about the last great American marriage or whatever about.
Oh, and he announces it at the thing.
So the reason that James went along on the adventure in the first place was because they had to do something about the dog.
Right.
And that's how he met Robert Downey Jr. That's how Robert Downey Jr. fixed his career back in New York by publishing this new young author. So it does all weave together. It does all weave together.
As you know, it's more of a good driving force. It's like if in the first act you kill a dog, you're like, how the fuck are you going to resolve this? And it actually ties everyone's life back together. Well, fuck me!
And again, though, the difference, you watch this movie once, I've watched this movie dozens and dozens of times, so I've had a lot of time to sort of analyze every moment of it because I just love it so much. What are our next picks going to be? It might be, I want to say right now, with the weather and how things are changing, we're experimenting with ways to record this. We might not be every week like clockwork for a little bit, but we're going to still produce shit. We're going to get shit out there for you guys, for the 12 of you.
Yeah.
But what was going to be next? I my options were Akira Kurosawa's The Lower Depths. Or
I can't get any of the fucking subtitles to work. I've downloaded like several SRT files.
I should have
and
brought
fucking
you the
nothing.
Criterion. I should have brought it for you. I wasn't even thinking.
It's okay.
I guess the next one would then be Kids in the Hall Brain Candy.
I got that.
That's it. I'm fascinated to see what you're going to think of this because it's all about Prozac.
Interesting.
It's all about the 90s drug boom.
Okay. Oh, I
So
looked at that.
It's really interesting.
That's a good time.
It's
that
really
Ritalin was fucking fun. That's all I gotta say.
And then yours was. Is there anything other than Jackass? Do I have to? Because I know I'm gonna hate it. Is there anything else? I mean, I'll do it. I won't be a little jackass. I'll do it.
Another thing, Bad Boys 2.
I've seen Bad Boys 2.
Damn it!
Yeah.
What do you think of Bad Boys 2?
I'm not a big fan.
It's like the Godfather 2 of action movies. It's so bad, it's amazing.
I never understood, because I'm a persnickety little shit bird. I love bad movies. Like, I love Plan 9 from Outer Space and all those little cheesy I grew up watching Mystery Science Theater 3000. I could never get behind the So Bad It's Good with Michael Bay. I could never get there because I just couldn't.
That's one of those ones, like, just like Armageddon, where I'm like, it suits him.
I just can't.
Like, it suits his fucking stupid jerk-off montage bullshit style. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it so much.
Totally fair, because again, I mean, the older we get, the more we realize fighting about movies is stupid.
Right.
And everything's subjective, and I can't get I don't get Michael Bay. I don't get it.
That's fair, but like, you know, for like numbnuts like me who just like to like just put their brain on the wall and just watch Will Smith say cool one-liners,
robots fighting.
That movie has all the right like hills and valleys that fucking like action people look for. Like The Expendables, for example, perfect example of The Expendables. The Expendables, have you seen that?
No, I've never seen The Expendables.
I've only seen the first one.
Yeah,
but it's so goddamn ridiculous. You have to love it. You're just like, this is outrageous. Like at one point, Shorts, I think it's in the second one, he rips a door off a car and uses it as a shield against bullets. You're like, this is like a comic book come to life, or Saturday morning cartoon, or like the A-Team.
But it's always that wire to walk of like, if you the good bad movie is one where the creators were completely earnest and honest in their attempt to create a good movie and failed. That's a good bad movie. If you go in to make a movie knowing you're going to make schlock, like Sharknado.
Where do you stand on like a movie like Commando that's like clearly just it's balls to the wall action movie? The poster's a dude with a machine gun.
I think that I think people love that movie though.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really fit. It has to be a movie people hate, but they love because it was clearly crafted with love.
Okay.
So Commando, it seems like they had a mix of studio decision and artistry, said with finger quotes.
Bad Boys 2 falling in that category. Of just like Martin Lawrence, Will Smith. They're just a good on-screen duo. Michael Bay,
he just loves his camera work. He doesn't give a shit about what he's filming.
No, and those guys are just kinetic enough that they make it work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it looks like a fucking music video. Everything's like super high contrast.
I think you basically just explained my counterpoint.
It's absurd. Like, I'm just like, it's like there's not one likable quality about this movie. That's a lie. It's, you know what it is it's so MTV jockey bad that you're just like, you had the audacity. It's like that dude, like, to make this thing, like it's so proudly douchey. I think that's what I like about it. There's dead bodies full of ecstasy rolling down a freeway at one point.
I saw it once and I've never watched it again, so my memory of it is very spotty.
The movie opens with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence like busting a Klan when they throw off a white robe in slow motion, revealing they're black LAPD officers in front of a flaming cross, and you're like, Michael Bay, you're so subtle. Oh, you're so subtle.
You should be able to do that in Red Dead. You should be able to go in disguise and then like woof.
If anyone's a developer, and wants me to, like, if you have like a Patreon or a fucking GoFundMe for making a game that's just where you can kill Klansmen over and over.
Just like Duck Hunt, but with
yeah,
Klansmen?
like you start with a screwdriver and have to work your way up. I will fund that, by the way, if anyone's listening. Please make that happen.
Like Duck Hunt, when you miss a Klansman, there has to be like a little hillbilly that comes up and goes and then goes back down. But
could you shoot the dog in the original arcade version?
I don't know.
Someone
I never
once
played
said-
it on arcade. I only ever played it on Nintendo.
I think that was the
Nintendo.
original thing when they took it out. If the dog popped up and you lost your shit, you could shoot him,
Shoot
but
the
you'd lose a
dog?
life or something.
Can we briefly, at the tail end of our podcast here, Mystery Science Theater 3000 is back again for its second revival season. It's fucking amazing. I just watched the Mac and Me episode the other day.
Did they do the whole movie?
Well, they do about an hour and 20 to 10 minutes of a movie. So
Okay.
it's about an hour 20, hour 30 episodes, and about 10 minutes of those are their bits.
Right.
So they always cut it down to about an hour 10, an hour 15 minutes. And they just came back last year for their Netflix original series called The Return. Every episode's fucking pure. Like, they haven't lost it at all. It's funny because I'm going to go down a rabbit hole for like 30 seconds here. I apologize to everyone listening. But the original Mystery Science Theater 3000 was Joel Hodgson and the robots. And then he left. He was the creator of the show. He left. And then Mike, I don't remember what Mike's last name was, but I kind of stopped watching at that point. And then Mike and the two new voices of the robots, they went on and they do riff tracks online. And they're not very good, and clearly, like, Joel, he's clearly like this little annoying artist dude who's like, he left when it got irrelevant to do the show anymore, but now 25 years later he's come back because he owns the rights to it. So he's come, that's why the other guys have to do riff tracks. So he's come back, he said, I own Mystery Science Theater 3000, I'm going to recast the robots, recast the guy. He got Jonah Heston from the Nerdist podcast. And
Jonah Ray?
Or Jonah Ray, sorry. He's Jonah Heston in the show.
I love Jonah Ray.
He's Jonah Heston, yeah. So it's Jonah Ray. Yeah, he's great, and they're nailing it. It's not like one of these revivals where you're like, oh, nostalgia will rely on me. I'll have to rely on nostalgia to like this. They nailed it.
Interesting.
And this second season,
I just jump in having never seen any of it.
You can watch any episode in any order you want. They're all just, everyone's unique. It's good to watch the first one because it sets up the plot. But yeah, I watched Mystery Science Theater 3000 when it was still being like brought into Canada on like bunny ears. I've watched this thing my whole life. I'm like a hipster fan of MST3K, and it is still so solid and so good.
What movies did they do?
It's always like, it's hard to remember them because they're just ridiculous movies. Like Reptilicus was one last year, was a Spanish Godzilla movie. I'd have to look up the list of the names because they're all weird movies. This year they did Atlantic Rim, I haven't watched that one yet, and I'm a little hesitant because they've gone into the territory which we were just talking about, where it's like you're no longer doing a bad movie made with love, you're now doing an asylum movie, something just ripping off Pacific Rim.
Right.
So like, I don't know.
It's kind of low-hanging fruit at that point.
But they did Mac and Me, that was amazing.
I would watch that.
I'd never seen Mac and Me before.
I think I've watched I've seen key scenes like the dance sequence, but I've never sat through. I've never sat through the whole thing.
No, I always knew that. Pop culturally, I always knew he dances at McDonald's at one point because it was a giant studio film.
And that iconic scene where the kid flies off into the ravine in their wheelchair.
Yes,
fucking brilliant.
And this is the first time I've ever actually watched it, and that's the way I watched it, was and I don't want to watch it any other way. I'm like, I'm good for Mac and Me. This was hard to watch even with brilliant cutting comedy over top of it.
So on its own, it'd probably be unbearable.
It's just unbearable.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, cannot highly recommend Mystery Science Theater 3000 enough. Wonder Boys, I cannot recommend enough.
I recommend Tombstone.
Yeah. Tombstone, if you got a couple hours to kill.
And you like Kurt Russell, man. The cast alone. I enjoy those people.
Val Kilmer did surprise me.
Insane,
he actually
right?
was giving a shit.
He does such a good performance. It's one of my favorite lines in that movie. It's whenever he's in bed and his girlfriend's essentially going down on him, and she's like, "You, my dear, may be the very evidence of the existence of angels." And then she goes down and he's like, "But you may very well be the Antichrist." And I love that. Like, his delivery, his performance. I'll be your Huckleberry. Like, he's so good.
Speaking Latin.
Yes.
But I remember
my favorite is whenever Michael Biehn does the gun trick scene.
Oh yeah, and he just does it with
a cup, but the look on his face, that performance is so fucking
just making
funny.
a fool out of him. I remember the whole time being really concerned for his girlfriend because tuberculosis is contagious. So the whole time I was like, what are you doing?
That's how much she loves him.
God damn it, woman. His lungs are literally turning into goop. Do you really want this?
Yeah, she does. She'll be his Huckleberry.
I'll be your Huckleberry. Fuck you, Wyatt Earp. Now I feel like I gotta watch the 3-hour Irvin Kershner.
Hopefully he makes a cameo.
God. Why did I just blanked on Kevin Costner? Kevin Costner is Wyatt Earp. That's gonna be atrocious. But it has Daddy Tenenbaum in it. Gene Hackman.
Oh Jesus.
It has Gene Hackman in it, so that should be something.
Daddy Tannenbaum.
Daddy Tannenbaum.
I have cancer.
Nor do I. I didn't, but I die anyways. Tannenbaum spoilers.
Yeah. We'll figure out something.
Oh yeah, for coming up, we're either going to do another assigning each other thing, or if there's a new movie coming out, we got some shit to figure out. It's not as easy to do this in the winter. It's much easier to do this in the summer.
Yeah, for real. When there's actually a lot of shit coming out.
When there's shit coming out, and it's not like a white knuckle fucking terrifying trip to get down here.
Torontonians is, for some reason, whenever it rains in the winter or snows, they forget what precipitation looks like.
No, that's the thing. The 401 is the most dangerous place in the world when it rains or snows, and not because of the rain or the snow.
Fucking drives me nuts.
It just takes too long to fucking get here.
I just imagine people driving in their cars and they're like, it's coming from the sky! And they just start swerving.
No, on the drive up, I said to you earlier, literally at the line where it started raining, everyone was hitting their brakes.
Ugh.
I was like, it's just raining.
It's fucking... See that little knob? And those rubber things on your your windshield?
And and again, unless you have like city bicycle tires, you should be okay in a little bit of rain. But anyways, mostly
you're in a sports utility vehicle.
In the meantime, while we figure this shit out, we're like in a long distance relationship for podcasting. In the meantime, while we figure our shit out, guys, check us out at spaceactionheroes.com. There you can find stuff. Literally, I try to funnel everyone through the website because everything we do is there and we could use the hits. And subscribe, like our videos, share them up. We'll give you kisses, or not, if that's what you prefer.
Comfortable, respectful handshakes and affirmations of your dignity are also offered.
I'll be your Huckleberry.
See you guys.
Bye!